Okay. Just make sure my sound. Hopefully my sound's turned all the way up. Yep. Okay. Here's your phone.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
We're gonna start.
Hi, I'm Kathy Durden. I'm the president of this organization, Tampa Regional Artists. I'm also the secretary treasurer of Tampa Arts Alliance. I'd like to welcome you to our facility. For those of you who've never been here, this is literally a one-room schoolhouse. It was the original schoolhouse on this side of the river from the turn of the last century. It predates when Gorey was built, and after Gorey was built, it became a library and the site of the first kindergarten and the site of the first hot lunch. And if you look at the photo by the bathroom, you will see the kids lined up, girls on one side, boys on the other side, going in for their hot lunch. We run a series, we're nonprofit, we're 501c3, we own this building. And we run workshops, classes, demos, and exhibitions. We have an exhibition basically ongoing constantly. This exhibition happens to be a student exhibition from one of our adult drawing classes. Our next exhibit will be focused on Florida. Goes to our website, tamparegionalartist.com. We will be receiving mid-August. And then our next exhibit after that is Fit for Feather. After that, it's Eat, Pray, Love. That'll be over from October to November. And it basically is anything you love. So it's basically anything you're thankful for, anything. And then the final exhibit will be our membership. And then, and then our next demo is this Sunday. Beth Smedley, Brandon is going to do amusing robots. And we have 3 workshops this fall. Joshie Otley will be doing digital animation. And Epcot will be doing watercoloring. For Waterhouse will be doing portraits. So go to our website and see what we do. And we are full of classes, morning to night. We kick kids out literally after they came in. So literally.
Thank you. I'm Michelle Smith. I'm the executive director for the Tampa Arts Alliance. Thank you so much for being here. So excited to see you all. I'm going to do very brief introductions because Pat's going to lead the conversation. So Pat Fosnot is with the Gasparilla Festival of the Arts, and they are collaborators with this program. She's going to also share about their amazing programs for emerging artists. She'll be facilitating a conversation with a really exciting group of artists here. And as we get you all engaged, so have your questions lined up and your feedback, because it's an interactive talk. So we have Mr. Ryan McCullough. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah.
Excellent. He's a professor at University of Tampa. He's got an MFA. He's got an amazing practice. And he also experiments with expanding his practice into performing, exhibitioning, galleries. He's got a lot of different experience to share. We've got Lisa Hatcher, who's also been active with Gasparilla Festival of the Arts. She's a photographer who creates these magical, surreal landscapes and has really honed her craft and also uses her work and her products and packaging, which she's going to share about. And then Artista Lulu, who is a staple of Tampa and Ybor and her wonderful designs. She's got a fantastic online store. She's been honing her designs over the years. I first met her in like 2015, 2016 in downtown, where she did a mural for the Tampa Downtown Partnership. And she's diversified her products and experimented with lots of different ways of building community and collaboration. That's going to be a big thing tonight. So enough for me. Thank you, Pat. Please take it over.
Okay. Welcome everybody, and I'm going to remain seated, and if you see me looking at my phone, it's not because I'm getting the call, it's because I have questions here that Michelle sent me, so have some crumbs. So anyway, we do have a wonderful panel and they are all people with diverse activities and lots of interesting things that they've done. So I'm gonna start off with Lulu, and I'm gonna ask you, how did you get started as an artist and what inspired you?
Well, do we have like a timer that says like? I'll make it as quick as possible, because I do know we're on time crunch.
Just
But,
I was pretty back in the room.
Just start waving if it's like, okay, you got it. Well, honestly, it came naturally. I'm sure like most of you probably have in common as children. It's just the thing that you did was art. And that's how exactly it was. My aunt actually told my mom at a very young age, she was like, can you put that girl in some art classes because she's got some skills with what she's doing. However, my parents did not know of an actual real life artist that was surviving and not starving. They very much believed in the trope. So they inspired and pushed me to be better at it, but not in a serious way. They were like, you're gonna be a lawyer for sure. You aren't gonna get away out of anything. So you're going to college, which I did. I went to Middle Tennessee State University. I've got my bachelor's in mass communications with a concentration in public relations because it was the artsiest like mass comm degree that you did some advertising. I got to learn Photoshop and things like that. But as I was sharing earlier, I used to stalk the art department. I would like make sure I was going to my next class through the art building, and I would like look at everything. And I am self-taught, which I used to think was an unfortunate fact, but it's actually quite fortunate because I think it shaped so much of what my style is today. And so in 2008, I moved to Tampa. I got a big girl job working for a university, and I would tell my students, "It could be anything you want to be. Let's go for that master's degree." While I was pursuing my MBA, you could do anything you want to be. And then one day I had this like epiphany, like I'm not being what I want to be, and I would spend all of my extra money on art supplies, RIP Pearl. And I spent all of my money that I was winning on Scott right after her. So, but I would say in 2010, I was having a conversation with a friend, and it was sort of this idea of like, well, what are you living for? Like, who are you living for? I had done everything correct. Everything by the book. I made my parents proud. I got the degree, I was, living on my own. And I guess I kind of had this epiphany in 2010. And so I pursued it. I did go back to USF for one semester, which I regret for the student loans. But besides that, it gave me the direction in like, I'm going to prove this to everyone. My parents thought like it was the end of the world. Like, oh, you're going to be moving back in with us. And now, where are we at 15 years later, and like, oh, my daughter's an art. So that's really to summarize. Years.
That's great. And how about you, Lisa?
Oh, Lordy, okay, so the short story is I was supposed to be a musician. You should really see me sitting in an orchestra somewhere up north, but that did not happen. I took a different path. My husband's military, I had children extremely young, my daughter at 18 years old. So as you can imagine, I got, like siphoned away from everything I knew, ended up in the middle of nowhere. Honestly, I lived in a tiny little place in the south of Maryland. There was no colleges, no things, no people. Like we're talking Amish country. I taught myself Photoshop. Many nights crying on my own, trying to figure it out. The way I had found photography, and the short story on that is I went to New Orleans. I went to see Depeche Mode. That dates me. And so in that, my friend was homeless in New Orleans on purpose. He's an artist. He was just trying to find himself. And I went with him to some of the cemeteries. And if you've ever been to New Orleans, you understand me. If you haven't, please go. I took about 20 rolls of black and white film with my uncle had been a photographer. He passed away. And left his gear to my mother. My mother, on pain of death, don't let my camera get hurt. Let me borrow the camera. I never used it. Didn't understand it at all. And just read the little bit of a manual, went out for, I don't know, 5 hours and 110 degrees and realized, oh my God, like something's taking over me. What is happening? I didn't think anything else of it. Went to my concert, Poe opened, by the way. That is the point. And I went to pick up my film at Ritz because, as you know, if you're getting black and white film, it's not a 1 hour process. You have to wait. when I came back, they had my images all over the counter, like strolled everywhere. I was like, oh, I felt like my children were out. You know, and I pulled them all to me and I was like, these are mine. And they were like, are they? Are you a travel photographer? Who are you? And I'm like, what are these? Stop. And I put all of like my underwear were out on display and I paid for them and I felt like almost like what is happening. And he handed me this little slip of paper. And he said, hey, there's this competition. It's a travel your world competition. You should enter it. You should enter it. And I was like, and I went home and I sat on my in-laws wood floor and I looked at them and I went, oh, I'm flying to be good at this. And the irony is I was in newspaper in high school. And my teacher, I was a writer on the staff. One of my photographers had gotten sick. I had to go to a story by myself. I was tasked with taking pictures. My senior advisor said, it's a good thing you'll never be a photographer because you suck at it. Oh, yeah. And I took that to heart. I was like, I'll never touch a camera or anything. It's like, I will stick to writing. And long story short, I ended up winning that competition. And I went, what the heck? And I started taking pictures any way I could, anywhere I could, anyhow I could. And my mom was like, you can keep the camera, but don't let it get hurt. I want it back. So with a borrowed camera in the middle of nowhere, teaching myself Photoshop, I was like, how I have 2 small children at this point. My husband's gone and not fun. I'm by myself. And I was like, how can I get into school? I'm gonna fast forward. I promise. The fast forward is I managed to get myself in a beginning photography, like for novice class. I went to the class, I barely got into it. It was a whole nightmare. I'll spare you the story, but the main thing that you need to understand is sometimes luck is just like waiting to smack you upside the head. I would love to tell the whole story, but the man that was teaching this class was a retired vice president of East Bay. And he decided I was worthy of something. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know until well into him teaching me. When I went to his house and I was like, who are you? And he was like, you're gonna be my last project. Like, you're gonna be my last project. And I try not to cry because he just passed away not too long ago. But when I left Maryland, he hugged me. He said, you have been like the thing that I'll be like most proud of in my life. And so what I will say is I have spent a lot of my life dealing with people who thought I could do it. So if you're a person in this room that's had someone say to you, you're too young, you're too old, you're not capable. Like, I taught myself photography. I did it against all the odds. I did end up getting a master's, but I was already a photographer at that point. I won a ton of industry awards. I came into the world when, no offense to anyone in the room, but it's all men. It was very different. At that time, everything was filmed when I started. I jumped into the digital world. And the reason that's important is I learned to build sets. I don't actually, people think of me as a Photoshop guru, and I am, but also I build sets and I photograph in them. And that has been an asset to me in so many ways. Like, I can design, I can build, I do build like moving pieces. I can build like rooms of characters. And I know tonight we're going to talk about diversity. The short of that, all of that is to tell you like, and we'll talk about it more, the path of diversity and what that's done for me. But me being a self-starter and somebody who defied a lot of odds and had a lot of luck, and a lot of people, like even getting into Gasparilla. If you have any questions about the emerging artist program, please come to me. I had put my camera down for 6 months when I found the emerging artist program. I was really burnt out. No offense to my sweet husband, don't beat him up. He had moved me a lot and I was burnt out, and I didn't want to be a photographer anymore. I didn't want to be an artist anymore because I didn't really understand what that was, because I was only doing it kind of quietly for myself. I was working. And if you're on Facebook and you see little ads in the corner, it was emerging artists, and the short stories, I clicked on it and it was due that day. And I was like, of course it is. Of course it is. So I sat there trying to fill out an application and I didn't know half of the answers, and I just had to keep hoping and praying that I could figure it out as I was going. And then they said that you would be notified. I think it was like December 29th, and I wasn't notified. And it was like, well, I guess that's it. I didn't get in. And like almost midnight that night, I got a notification that I got in. And then I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? I have no idea what I'm doing. And then I sold that whole entire show. So, like, that was 15 years ago. So I say all of that to say how I became an artist is really complicated. But what I would want you to hear is that I kept my eyes open. I was always the first one in a class, the last one to leave the class. I was constantly making connections with people. I was constantly collaborating with anybody that would listen to me. I look for other people that are better than me, and I try to understand not why they're better than me, but what they're doing that's working for them. I'm constantly trying to understand like what makes me happy, what opportunities to not take, what jumps not to take, because I understand like saying yes to something means saying no to something else. And I think that has kept me on path until the tea company, and that is a whole nother story. I will share later. And that's it.
Okay, that was great and really interesting. Besides talented, they're very interesting folks. Ryan, how about you?
What an honor it is to sit on this panel with y'all.
Really?
This is my first exposure to both your work. I just feel so honored to be here, so thank you. So I grew up in,
Talk louder.
I grew up in Ohio on a farm, and it felt rather culturally isolating. I wouldn't say that I kind of knew what art was for a very long time. My understanding of art was my dad's record collection, comic books. I was really involved with being a farm kid. I loved animals. But then one summer I bailed hay for a guy at the end of the street. He was kind of a weird old guy, and he had a son that played guitar. And he introduced me to punk rock and hardcore and heavy metal. And I got tapped into that scene, that DIY scene, when I was still early high school, and going to local shows and meeting people that were in bands, and then forming my own band. It was like a whole new life. It was like I didn't even know who I was. I was learning who I was every day after I made those connections. And of course, now I look back and I think it's funny that I ended up being a printmaker and making prints for my research in my life, because I was designing flyers for my show because I had to for the band. I was designing a t-shirt because I had to for the band. Didn't know that I was designing. I didn't know that I was being a printmaker at that time, even though I was going with blockout on silk screen to create my image one little brushstroke at a time to make the t-shirt. But luckily that got me kind of connected and energized and pretty obsessed with DIY culture and underground culture. And then I just kind of accidentally went to college at Wright State University. It was not on purpose. It was kind of, that is a whole nother long story. Luckily, I took a sculpture class for my first semester, and my professor and mentor, Tom McCauley, he taught straight out of like the 60s and 70s expanded practice. So before I was really tuned into thinking about the traditions and trajectory of oil painting or woodcut or of drawing, I was doing performance, I was making installation, I was doing earthworks. And that was like my starting punk rock to like avant-garde, like 60s and 70s expanded practice. As it turned out, I really loved to do things with my hands because of my upbringing. I love using tools. I love to be around equipment. I realized that a big part of my identity was what I could do with my hands, not what you say you are, but what you do. And so naturally I fell into printmaking. And that print shop, I just got goosebumps. That print shop at Wright State was amazing because it didn't feel stuffy. It didn't feel like I was in a fancy art studio. It felt just like I was in another barn working on equipment. And it felt like it was a team sport. So it felt very much like punk rock too. And I was in a band again, but we were making images and we were, pulling all-nighters. And it was like everything in my life, once I discovered that, and I was a little bit of a wild child. I had some energy that was going in a lot of different directions, but it was printmaking that showed me the joy of discipline. showing up every day, cleaning your tools, sweeping the shop, loving the process, the steps that I would take, like my energy and my kind of attention span needed that kind of like love for process. And that's where kind of the creative practice started. I was really fortunate that I received it was called the YET Fellowship through the Dayton Art Institute, where there were 4 college students that received the fellowship. We taught a total of 8 art classes to really great high school art students. And then we had a show at the museum. So all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, like I love teaching. Again, my band just kind of grew. I just like had this whole other community. And after undergrad, I was recruited to teach at Stivers School for the Arts, which was an inner city magnet school for the performing and visual arts. And at the time,
Did you say Steiner?
Stivers, that's right. And I was the director of their sculpture program, and then I built their first print shop and developed their first printmaking curriculum there. What's that?
I said, of course you did.
I had to find a practice space. And then from there, I was really fortunate that the photography teacher there ended up being my best friend, and then we got married. And we were like, what are we gonna do? And we were getting a little bit older, and we thought that we wanted new conversations. We wanted to challenge our practice. So we applied to graduate school, and we went to Athens, Georgia together to get our MFA in photography, and me in printmaking, book arts. We did our 3 years of research there, and then I was really so blessed to get the invitation from the University of Tampa to come and teach there. So that's
Wonderful. Just to share with you a little bit of side information. I met Brian when he came to UT a couple of years ago. We started talking. I met Brian when he came to UT a couple of years ago. And we started talking and found out we have a lot in common. My master's degree is from Wright State University. I went to undergraduate at the University of Dayton and the Dayton Art Institute that he was just talking about. And I taught at one of the high schools in Dayton too, but it wasn't, a friend of mine worked at Stivers. So we have all these, and then she went to Middle Tennessee State, and my first adjunct teaching at college level was at Tennessee Tech, which is 30 miles from Mitsui, we call it. So, and while we're off the subject for just a second, I wanted to introduce, and I don't know their names, so we have 2 young ladies here who were scholarship recipients from the Gasparilla Festival of the Arts this year. Just stand up and look and wait. They are budding artists. They have beautiful bodies of work, and we're thrilled to be able to provide them with opportunities with scholarships. So I was asked to mention them, and we're very happy that you're here. So my next question is, how does it feel to be able to monetize the skills that you've developed and at making a living at your art? Do you want to start?
So the first feeling is shock, surprise, disbelief. But in a pleasant way, I could say, starting off, I didn't even know I could make money off of a painting until someone saw one of my paintings that was intended to be a gift for someone else. And they said, I'll give you $100 for that. And that's like when the wires kicked together. And I was like, serious? You want me to pay you back for anything? And but little by little, it's sort of been showing off my artwork as paintings, and people saying, oh, that would be really cool, and it's on a shirt, or, well, have you ever thought about making prints out of this? Or, I'd buy that if that was, X object. And that's my research and development, is everyone coming up to me, because I don't have that department. So I go home right away, I'm Googling how to make this, how to make that, how much does it cost? And then the next time I show up, that's what I'm doing. Actually, I learned that lesson really. I did one of my very first art shows in Orlando, and I brought a body of work that was probably maybe 20 paintings in various sizes. I was like, well, I'm hitting all the marks. I'm gonna sell out tonight. Oh my gosh, I can't wait. I didn't sell a single thing, but the artist across from me probably made $100 on greeting cards. It's little foldable greeting cards. And I watched her, and everybody came up and they bought like a 5 or 10. I don't know what she was charging, maybe $5 or $10 for it. And that was the day I was like, I'm never doing another art show without at least a print or something. And so, yeah, I just, you know, learned you can put your art on anything. I mean, name it, calendars, notebooks, you know, I'm actually using a notebook that I've got my art on, and any and everything. You can put your art on. So if people are telling you like, oh, I really like this on this, that's one person who's representative of countless other people who would be interested in the same thing. So pleasantly surprised.
So I have two answers on that. I worked as a working photographer for 25 years, and by working photographer,
Michelle's trying to get us all to talk.
okay, by working photographer, I mean, I was doing a service and doing what I was told. So I learned very quickly that was like, it's like work, right? Like you're doing a thing, you're getting money back, like that seems normal. Where I think, speak for myself, where it gets confusing is when, you're doing something for yourself and other people are like, I want that, right? So, I would say there's been times where I've sold artwork and I felt a lot like Lulu, like, what the heck are you, like, do you need me to hang it up? Do you want me to, you know, like, what can I do to make it worth your half, like, how can I, you know? Also, I actually view when someone buys a piece of mine and have a little weird quirk about me that I feel like you're adopting something. So like if you said you took this home, I want to know how she's doing. I want to know that she's made you happy. Like, so there's this weird thing like where I've been able to change in my mind the agreement, right? So if you kind of look at it that way, it does make it a little easier for you to ask for what you're worth and what your child is worth, if you will. And I also think the important thing is, and I bet both of my co-panelists could to attest to, is understanding what your work is needed, what your work is needed for. So I have boss pieces that will sell really well off the wall, and I have pieces that will never sell off the wall, but they'll sell in a greeting card, they'll sell in other avenues. And it's your job to, if you think of your work as a child, it is your job to create a child with purpose. I don't create work that has no home. Creating art with a purpose that could go somewhere and that serves, it can serve any purpose, but that is wanted or needed. Right. And that's me personally. I feel that way. And if I bring a child into the world, it's my job to find out how to get it to be wanted by the people. And when you start thinking that way, it makes it a little easier to decide that it's okay to take money because I have more children to take care of, right? I have to create more children. That's what it's all about. I say all of that to say it's not always the case. So when I launched the tea company, I got very resentful very quickly that it needed money. I'm going to explain myself. I want to be an artist. I'm not a tea lady. What the heck? And I'll explain how I got there in another question. But I got really resentful until I was sitting in front of a business manager who wanted to buy my business and I didn't want to sell it. She's like, what do you mean you don't want to sell it? You don't want it? What? I want it, give it to me. And I got protective of my child that I didn't want. And I felt resentful. Like I've had people come into my booth at Gasparilla and say, do you know that there's a tea lady using your pictures? Or when I'm at like a store or something, people are like, there's an artist. Are you using her stuff? And they get like, right. So people don't understand we're the same person. It's very surreal for me. And I think that is an interesting thing to note, right? Like the reason I became a tea person is COVID. And it made me so upset that people embraced my artwork in this strange little way that it took me, I'm going to say a good 2 years to be okay. And here's what made me okay. Somebody said to me, if you hadn't done the time in this, what you were doing before as a designer, as a maker of like things, if you hadn't done the time, you wouldn't have been able to design the package. You wouldn't have been able to make the artwork. You wouldn't have had the artwork. If you know me, you know I'm a storyteller. I like to tell stories. If I hadn't had that ability to sit and tell you like that she lives in this teacup because she travels in the sea because she didn't feel at home. Like, I can tell you the whole thing, right? If I didn't have those skills, it wouldn't have translated. It took me a while to understand that everything leads to something else. And like, like, we could say, well, you're not a famous musician, but you make beautiful things. Like, I'm not a famous musician either. I'm not like playing flute, like, someplace in New York. But I have a tea company. How the heck did that happen? So you can actually get kind of tripped up sometimes when things happen to you accidentally, or however you want to put it. I do think that that's a normal thing to feel weirdly resentful when something does well and you didn't have intentions. Like, think of musicians who have one-hit wonders, and if that one hit's totally different than their body of work, you better believe they hate that song. So I think it's important as an artist to, yes, understand that your work should be created with purpose and that you're wanting people to have it, and you're creating it and trying to figure out how or where it fits in the world, but also understanding that it's okay to not be okay that you're making money. Weirdly enough, that's weird, right? But like, that happened to me, so I figured I would share it with you. It's weird when you take side steps and they actually work and you're like, what happened? So that's the two things that I would share about monetizing.
I really feel my age when I think about the complexities of monetizing your creative work. Because especially when you come out of kind of DIY culture, there is a resentment, at least child of the 90s. There was like a resentment of corporate culture, of like money forward, that kind of ambition was like, there was like a weird, I'm so punk rock, I don't care about the money thing going on at that time. And that had to be shit, right? If I wanted to grow up, if I wanted to have a vision for myself as like an old man artist, like that's what I'm obsessed with right now. I'll be an old man. Dude. How do I facilitate it? There's also a part of me that, my discipline has an ethic to it. Like, printmaking has a deeper history in kind of, like, you're an art worker, you're not an artist. And so we kind of exist in the multiple. Like, I loved that I could work on a plate or a block and I could make 100 of those things. I could print 100 of those and distribute them. So when you start talking about the children, it's a very complicated issue for our neighbors. But what I will say is that I did start to think about monetization in terms of the community that I was cultivating. There's a part of you that's like, I don't know, or I'll speak for myself. I did have that moment where I was like, I'm here because I do want to have exposure. Maybe I want to be famous. Maybe I want to kind of like sit in the seat where my heroes sat. And so I was thinking about that big picture. But when I started thinking about what's the community that I'm cultivating with monetizing my work, I was like, no, I want the kid that has $1 in his pocket to come and buy one of my pens. I want to have, a college kid that's like, oh, I love that t-shirt. I want that. Or I want that kind of art collector to say, I want you to come in and I want you to design an entire wing of my house. All of those levels are a part of my practice. It's about that kind of generosity of spirit. I don't know if I ever really think about like, I'm crushing it financially, or like, I'm not in the studio because I'm thinking I'm going to crush it financially. It comes from a different place. It is generated by the fuel of a different ethic. But what I do, especially for people that are like developing their own creative practice, it's like, think about how you are cultivating community with how you're putting your work out there in the world. And I've given a lot of work away because like, I want that love to be out there circulating in the world, in the universe. That's more valuable than sometimes like outpricing myself. But I also love to pay my bills with the money I make from my work. And there was a moment in time where my first ambition, once I had a serious studio, was how do I make this self-sufficient? That was my first goal. If you're thinking about monetization or making money from your work, it's like, how do I make this self-sufficient? How do I make enough money to buy the ink, to do, to pay for the studio space? So that's where my first price point started, was self-sufficiency. that I could have the freedom to make what I wanted as long as it was paying for itself. So that was in the back of my mind.
That freedom is a good thing.
That's why we're here, baby.
Absolutely.
The other thing Brian actually made me think, of is, you know, monetization doesn't always mean money.
Yeah.
Sometimes it means, you're trading with another artist to do something that you love. Sometimes it means, you're making connections and, like I have dozens of dollars in mermaid tails in my library that I didn't pay for, you know, like, and he has images that he didn't pay for, you know, like I have lemon trees in my back because weirdly enough in Gasparilla, a man came in and said, oh my God, I love this rhino. I have no money. I just started a business. And I said, what do you do? And he said, I do yard work. I said, I need lemon trees. And sometimes monetization is trading and exchanging and growing. I can go through each one of my art shows that I've done and I can point to the artists that I traded with because it's a thing I started in the beginning. I think that monetization, if you don't feel like you have the ability to sell artwork, trade it for the things you need, trade it, you know, like for your house cleaner, like trade it. Like there are, you know, people that want to support you and maybe they don't have money. And so like thinking of different ways to get your needs met is also important and it will make you both feel good in the trade, if that makes sense. So that's just a note that
That's okay. And you know, that's fine. And I'm going to add that I like the concept of your production being your child. Like because you feel like you've done all this work, you've created this wonderful thing, and now you need to help the world. You need to help them become something.
And to that note, I will say something that has kept me moving forward as an artist and is very inspirational. If you've ever thought about like your work coming to you like through a muse or through like in certain times of your life, I believe that an idea will come to you, and when it comes to you, it's your job to pick it up, or you let somebody else have it, it goes to someone else. And to me, when you're given an idea and you execute it correctly, I mean, good art is good execution, right? Like, so when you have an idea and you execute it and you allow it to grow and you allow it to be something that you're passionate about, it's like you were given a gift and you're not just like not using it. So to me, like if I have an idea for a story, that's a child that's trying to be born. It's coming to me like, I want to be born. And so when you start looking at it like that, it kind of makes you feel like, what, I have to do this. Like, I can't let the child down. And it's just the way that I think. And if you listen to me talk, like in general, like even if you catch me in a show or you even hear me talking about my teas, you'll hear me say she, he, they, because to me, they exist. They're a thing. And that's it goes as far as even collaborations go. The girl in this image has a story. Her story is partially this character's story. Like I will enmesh them. I am fed off of people. So that goes with everything. Right down to my tea, I'm fed by people. I'm fed by the people on this board. I'm fed every day. And I don't wonder where inspiration is. I wonder where it isn't. So to me, like, if you can look at your work in that way as something that is coming to you to be born, like it's coming to you, it wants to come out in any direction it can. I guarantee both of these guys up here feel the same way. If they have an idea, they're like, how can I get that out? What does that look like? And there's been times in every artist in this room's life where they've gone, how the heck am I going to get that to happen? And you know, that happens to everybody. It's your job. It's your job to figure it out. So sorry, I got on a tangent.
Your tangents are really interesting, informative, and I'm sure that everybody here is enjoying hearing all this because we all can relate. So the next thing I wanted to ask about is collaborations, and I'm going to start with this time. Start with you.
Well, I did already talk about being in a band and thinking about my creative practice as kind of a band generating type of thing. But collaboration has been something that has really been integral to my practice for a long time. In the early days, I was doing a lot of performance art and formed like a full performance troupe, and we were exploring movement and space together. But for the last 8 years, I've been doing like a distinct collaborative project with an artist from who teaches at Middle Tennessee State University. Nick Satnover, and it's called Small Bars, and we adopt a band like name, but we're a conceptual art practice.
I
And
saw that in your bio, and we meant to ask you about what that is.
yeah, so we think about if we were gonna do a collaboration, we're like a fake band. What does a fake band do? So we make fake music. We make fake merch. We have, we make records, we make tapes, we make t-shirts, we do all the things that a band would do. But it is always through kind of a premise of like a conceptual, there's like a conceptual entry point. It's trying to talk about something larger that might be about culture or materiality or communication. But also as an educator, I feel like collaboration is just all the time. Like I have to kind of work with my colleagues in that kind of way. I feel like the classroom is very much a collaborative environment, and maybe I'm not necessarily a direct collaborator, but I have to set the table for those collaborative moments to happen. To create a space that's generative in that kind of way. And so I think for a while it's been like a serial collaborator, my friends would say. But I also I'm interested not just in kind of making like art for a gallery space. For a long time, I have been publishing under the name Standard Action Press, and it is a collaborative zine project that has intersected with probably 400 or 500 artists at this point in time. That we make improvisational zines in spaces and distribute them for nothing. So if you want to make a zine, come and talk to them.
There's no end to their creative endeavors, I'm telling you.
Now I'm like, what are band names?
Oh my God. It is embarrassing that I have on my notes at like 3 pages of potential band names.
You could go ahead. I feel like he needs to post those. All in favor? Yes.
So would you like to speak about some collaborative
I
activities?
just love it. So I obviously am just like natural photography. It's easy for me to collaborate. Just in a natural way, like if it's clothing or jewelry or wearing fits, whatever it might be. So I won't really speak about that because that seems pretty secret, right? But so what I will talk about is like, if you think about, I'll give you an example. So this is Black Cat and it's just a tea blend, right? So I could have just made this and I would have put it out, would have been whatever. There is a place here in Plant City called the Catnip Cafe. And the catnip, basically they rehabilitate cats. You can come in, you can pet them, you can have a cup of tea. So collaborative, let's talk about it. How can I get them to really attach to this, right? So I'm going to do a tea called Black Cat, super chocolatey, all the happiness. It's one of my best sellers. But on the top, if you like look at it, it says charity. So part of the proceeds of this bag go to them. So now who's motivated to carry it? Who's motivated to put it out there? And like we have Black Cat and we have this tea in our store. And also I get to promote it in that way. I get to say, hey, if you go to this store and you can pet cats, you can have a cup of tea, you can support Black cats everywhere. I can put on my Instagram facts about Black cats, why they're so superstitious. I can have a whole like blah, 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 blah about Black cats. I can tell you that, you know, this is, you think he has 9 lives, he has 13, it says so in his bells, but he's still going. But like, I can tell you all the stories around it, but the cool thing about that is like, first of all, I get to help cats. First of all, second of all, I get to feel helpful in the world, but also like, it's almost making them do my job through me. And there's lots of ways that you can do that. So the second way I would tell you that a majorly collaborative person is I like to run big sets and I like to do live shows. So what started Underton was a poem. And I'll read it to you later in another question, but I went to a friend who owned this store. And I supported that store. I love the store. And I said, hey, can I do a show in your store? And she said, yeah, whatever you want to do. She knew me as an artist. And I was like, okay, I want to do this show and I want it to be on a tea party. And probably heck with it, I'll read it to you now. So the short of it is this was my when I went to her, tell her what I wanted to do, I just read her this. Do spirits whisper to you? Do they call you by name? Well, if you are an undead soul, you might just do the same. For when you've left before your time and have much more to say, when someone throws a tea party, you must come out and play. So be aware of undead souls that go up and play pretend. They will not only haunt you here, they'll try to be your friend. So keep all of your secrets and try your best to hide, because you don't belong in Edgerton, for you are still alive. So yes, but the stupid is I went to that store, I had a collaboration with her. That's actually the first store that picked up my tea.
Cool.
So wonderful.
So, yes, so really quick. There's so much to say about the value of collaboration. I can tell you just really quickly, I took this art class at USF, it was like painting 101. So you had people who were serious about art, and then you had people who were just taking it because they needed an elective credit. And so the assignment was, we had a wall, and all of us, we were the painting class and there was the drawing class, and each day we would alternate for who was working on this wall. So the painting class comes in first, and we put our little touches, and the drawing class comes in, and they can only use markers and pens and stuff, which is actually a really fun activity. Do it with your friends, it's so much fun. Anyhow, there was a kid in my class that I probably burned a hole in his head, just like glaring at him, because every time he would go up to the board, he would destroy everyone's artwork. Not like destroy in a malicious way. It's just whatever he was contributing was dripping over your stuff, or it was like you would cross out something that you did, and you could still see what you did, but. And I was about to fight this kid. And I was like, I'm gonna get this because that's personal. That's my partner drawing all over, you know? And the professor was loving it because he's like, this is exactly what this experiment's about. It's like, you know, wait until you see at the end what it looks like. So then I was actually kind of like, oh, you're gonna draw for myself, watch this. So, oh, and I was kind of going back and forth. We were doing a bunch of us were doing. And then the next day the drawing class comes in, and you know, you don't know what you're gonna get, so it's day 3, and you come and you see what they highlighted, because they're outlining everything, they're like drawing eyeballs on little goofy monsters and stuff. It was the most amazing work of art I think I've ever seen in my life. Like I could never recreate what that was, because it was so many different brains working on this thing. But in the end, what I learned was all of this like damage I thought this guy was doing, he was enhancing it by so much. And again, there was just no way. We could have spent years planning this thing, and there's no way I would have came to that conclusion for him to do that. Now, if you see me, I'll drip art. I think it looks cool, like I'm dripping. So I do suggest in that sense of just like collaboration can really enhance what you're doing. And just one last thing I'm gonna say about it. It's my husband who is in the audience, and the really handsome one with the red hat. He's an artist as well. He's a visual artist. And one of the things, probably the paintings that I sell the fastest are the works that we do together. And how it will be is, because he has such a great abstract mind, and I'm a very cartoony kind of illustrator. He'll do a piece that's just like, doesn't make sense. It's all abstract. And it's abstract graffiti stuff. So it's spray paint and stencils and all kinds of just crazy work. And he won't tell me, and we don't plan it. He just hands it to me. He's like, put something on this. And I'll look at it and I'll say, okay, well, I see the word love on here, or I see the word peace that he added in here. So I'll kind of take that and it'll create the illustration. I'd love to share, you know, when we have time to talk, I'll share some of those images. But it's, again, some of the better works of art that I've worked on, because he's just contributed stuff that I could never in a million years come up with. And so I do recommend doing that as a practice if you are a visual artist or what have you, you know, even musical artists. Chefs, you know, if you're working in food, like that's an incredible way to, but fashion, if you do fashion design, collaborate with people, because their perspective is just so invaluable. Looking for, it's like you can't really put a price on it. And also get outside of your head, like let go of your ego a little bit, you know, yes, you're the most amazing artist in this whole planet. You are, and I'll be the first to tell you. But like, there's another artist that can really help kind of evolve like what you're doing. So to do that as many as possible. Throw a party, get a blank canvas, get some random paints, and get like pens and markers, highlighters and stuff. And then just say painter, drawer, painter, drawer, painter, drawer, and take turns. It's gonna be, you guys are gonna be fighting over who keeps it. And it's really a cool practice.
I love that you're pointing out that collaboration can sometimes invite or permission play. You know, like when you're like, I'm making art, capital A, like you get real serious, right? You're like, I'm serious, this is serious. But when you engage play, you're like, you're changing gears and you're accessing a different part of yourself and sharing. I really appreciate that.
For sure. So, well, thanks for asking me last. It's taking me a good while to think. about it.
So I'm getting the high sign to wrap up, and so what we would like to do is, I know, we'd like to spend another hour, but we can't. And so I wanted everyone in the audience to introduce themselves, so we all know which other is, if that's okay, if you want to. If you want to.
Hi, Frances Young. I am an author. I've published 2 children's books. Lulu is my illustrator. We've been working on those books for about 4 years now in total for both. So we've sold a bunch, and I love every day with her. She's amazing, and yeah, creativity is definitely her spot. So collaboration.
So hi, my name's Cindy Howell. I've been painting maybe for about 10 years, acrylic, in acrylics. I think as all of us are, we're probably all still learning every day and trying to advance our skills and stuff, but it's really happy to be here. So I was a pharmacist, got laid off, and now I'm focusing on my art. You know, this is what I really enjoy. So it's happy to be here. Let me go.
Hi, everybody. My name is Steph Weaver. By day, I work at a public library. Nights and weekends.
Yes.
Nights and weekends, I'm a mixed media collage artist and also a graphic designer. I'm glad to be here. Thank you. Very nice. I'm Katie Ogram, the student in UT right now. I'm a BFA student. Mainly a oil painter, but I also do film photography more for fun. And I just was on the recipients of the GFA, so that was really cool. Hello, everyone. My name is Alyssa Pereira. I'm a recent graduate of University of Tampa. But also big as social media enthusiast. Love connecting with people in many different ways and avenues as I can. I'm back at UTEMPA now, working there as a staff member, just because I love my Spartan community so much that I just needed to be back in a couple weeks. But yeah.
Yeah, yes.
All right, hi, everybody. I'm Jefferson. I'm Lisa's husband, and I'm the one responsible for retired baby, and I like to help out where I can.
He's gonna be nice. He builds props. He helped me build my teacup. He drives mermaids. He is.
You wanna go next?
Karen Warren, I'm printmaker. All right, and I work at the present temporary company. And my emerging artist chat so that I did get accepted into press squeeze this year. And secondly, part of the craft art press squeeze for sorry, emerging artist program. So, Leah Tinsley, I am a self-taught artist and I'm also the owner of the Creative Artist. I hire artists and we travel throughout Central Florida. We do window art, murals, state conventions, and a lot of other things as well.
I'm an artist. I also work in Florida and
Hi, I'm Tori, I'm from They are amazing artists. I'm sorry, I'm shy. Oh, that's great. Not Parents of Barbie, my name is Lisa McLean, I'm actually, you're good, I'm actually a vocalist, by profession. And I am a imposter visual artist. You're next.
I have something called, I used to be an exhibition designer at the University of South Wales Contemporary Art Museum. And that's when I first met Ryan. He had an exhibition there and I thought that was excellent. And I also write art reviews for creative analysts and for payoff notes, which I did also did an article on the Rise exhibitions at HCC in Eagle. And I also make art. And in fact, I have a piece at Tempest Project, and tonight is the closing.
Yeah, unofficial after party.
Yeah. My name is Andrea. I graduated last year from Great Arts and Design, and I both a traditional and digital artist. But my favorite is Salon. I am not an artist. I'm her sister. I am a musician. I'm currently trying to work on teaching myself a little bit more because I was on scholarship for a couple of lessons that I was taking for a few months. That scholarship fell through, and then I've been trying to just build myself since then. My creativity was inspired from her, so she's a lot more amazing than she is. I just graduated from the University of Tampa as well. My bachelor's in fine arts, and I was well abstract. And yes.
Let's go. I'm M.A., I-E-M-A-R, aka Art Guy. You have to be a conduit of creativity. 14-year-old business owner out of Tampa Bay, sold it to do art 100%. I'm that guy that has a blue trailer, blue bike out there that rolls around. The mobile art park, I know a lot of people from that. What else? Also a two-time award winner out of the very spot.
One of my guys, yeah, let me sure he said I was a handsome guy there. Yeah, that's my wife, I'm also an artist, street performer, MC, paint houses, so if you have any questions today. I know it's hot, but I do it. But yeah, guys, I'm saying, beautiful wife, we're 100%, support 100%. We get together.
I'm one Evans and I create jewelry and I do water color. And I have a Etsy shop, waterfall.
About 4 years old, I started acting. Which role was one of the children in the King of Zion. Great play. About 16 years old, moved on into performance with that. Had a studio with Approachable HD for a bit amount of time. But when Approachable started charging more and more and more, I kind of got away from it and turned to oil. And oil pastel and love. I practice mostly with laser on TV and bobcats. I want to learn portraits, but I'm a landscape artist. Johnson, I'm involved against most of the artists, my development therapy, graduate will be working past presidents, about 2 years. And my co-chair of the community, we should involve with one of our years on initiatives, like sponsoring this art sponsors, quarterly, scholarship program for others. And day job, I do the director of design firm, branding, graphics, interior design, signage, and marketing for them. I'm in John, background in graphic design, similar to John's, that's digital marketing, graphic design. Trying to break out that, even though let's see design still don't bring me with pride, but I'm trying to break out that really psychic business mindset and shift into more creative stuff, but I kind of losing the last 15, 20 years of my life, so getting really a lot of digital collage and branching out with technology. So, yeah, my DIY stuff. So, if we hear done anything like this in a long time. And good.
Nervous. Sit right there, just say, breath with the possible. And it's on the spectrum.
Alliance. Just wanted to make sure you all are aware that we have a microgrant program for new artists, $500 fee. They'll put towards an exhibition or performance or some sort of public facing event. There's flyers that are on the table that every state wants to bring out. So find out more information, and the next cycle closes is November 1st, but it's every 3 months. It's like 4 grants every cycle. $2,000.
Got rid of that. And practical, environmental, it's so calm.
Very wild for saying University of Mississippi, when I started working with schizophrenic people. I think there had to be. Now I have a problem with them.
Good evening, my name is Allison Hewitt. I am a candidate for District 5, and I have attended the East City ad hoc department and realized I am woefully uninformed about my regards. We're here and I'm here to learn. Because I sat there for all the things that were happening. I knew I needed to at least start engaging, because this is a tremendous impact in Tampa. I don't think the city hall recognizes what the children we have here, because I know I was here to listen and to
Yeah.
I want to explain how gastroconceptual jars in a variety of ways. Most importantly, for this group, I oversee the Emerging Artist Program. It will begin taking applications on October 1st. If you have any questions about the program, you can reach us as Emerging Artists with an S at gastroartists.com. Go to the website, you can find me out there also. But feel free to reach out. I would love to see applications from all of you. Yeah, all of you who might qualify. If you have any questions about eligibility like that, please reach out. I look forward to seeing your art.
Thank you.
Nick Ewing, producer of Arts and Organics and Sustainability, wildness, preparing for 20+ years. I see a lot of great moments because this place is really special. It's still so time where there's like so much about. I'm so very happy to be part of it. It's so special to still with this. Great to be part of the community, creating sustainable collaborations and strategies. Legitimately peaceful and sustainable. I just lost the brain. So pollinating around all.
Good evening, my name is Jeffrey Dieter. I am the acting president of Festival of the Arts. Thanks so much for sharing all of your stories. For a lot of us, I work all across the world and had a hard time finding other people that are into art, or believe in art, or vote in the arts. It's a place scarce out there. So at 40, it's beautiful to hear all of your stories that resonate with you all. Learn to be a musician, learn to be a welder, we're working for a while, talking about some pennies, all sorts of weird things, but I always felt like I was just like on the outskirts of many things, so it's really refreshing to hear all of the struggles and the doubts and the winning over all of those emotions to get find really inspired. So thank you for being here, sharing all of them.
Yeah. Oh, Jen, I'm just gonna say hi, everybody. I'm Jennifer Wood. I'm the vice chair of Tampa Arts Alliance, and I'm also a longtime board member of the Salon of the Arts. And I am so excited that you're all here tonight. What an outstanding panel. Yeah.
And I just wanted to say, I was introduced as connected with the art festival, which I have been for many years. I'm co-chair of jury and rules. We make the rules and we enforce them. And the most important thing is we get the judges and we get good judges. That's what makes a big festival. But I also do other things. I'm a jewelry artist for one thing, and I also teach classes, and I have a class starting on the 13th of August, coming up in less than 2 weeks. And it's actually part of Studio 55, which are classes for older adults sponsored by the Tampa Museum of Art, but it's at a regional library because I wrote a collaborative grant to do off-site programs. So if you know anybody that's 55 plus, that's looking to learn how to paint with watercolors, the class is free. And the supplies are supplied by way of the grant, so it doesn't cost a person anything. And I think there are still some spaces left, so I wanted to let you know about that. And I also work for a small nonprofit headquartered at USF. We work with children and adults with disabilities in the arts. And it's a very part-time thing. I do promotions for them. So anyway, just so you all know, there are lots of different possibilities for connection. So
Yeah.
anyway, thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'm also an artist, but I haven't been practicing as much, and you all inspire me to break up in my paints, to choreograph some dance, to make some music, to experiment and just explore all these different aspects of my creativity. So thank you. These salons are designed to just kind of spark conversation and connection. So we could go on for hours, but our Lisa's up here. Thank you so much, Kathy, for hosting us, and Donna, who's just walked in as well. The next one is going to be in this series. It's going to be in November, and it's for emerging artists as well, talking about resources. We're going to get into some grants, some funding opportunities. That's going to likely be at Tempest Projects in Ybor in November. Between then, we also have a very important event coming up on August 26th for a town hall meeting, an arts forum for the District 5 candidates. We are soliciting and making sure that the voters of District 5 know about it, but we also want our arts community to turn out strong so that the candidates can see how important the arts are to everyone.
Yes.
District-wide, citywide. And then in September, we'll be focusing on music, likely at Symphonic Distribution. Nick, I'll talk to you about that. And then we have a lot of other stuff coming up, so sign up for the newsletter. Have a good night. So I can mess, I've been in the music industry for like 25 years. And didn't you bring somebody up to the last two? That's right. Yeah. But you see your voice the last one. I know. It's so, I'm better. It's like, it's right here, but I'm getting it fast. But what is this again? Lisa. Oh, she has always.
I can tell a person's age.
Yes.
Yeah, so, but yeah, I want to be into music. You said you got lit up, because that's my space thing. When I was symphonic, and so it's how, and it was fun, but it's there. So I think it's- Yeah, you love it. I always see you. I always see you all the time, whenever in person.